let's take ourselves from the Moxie Tower and from our angles, and let's get in the cockpit with Jimmy right now in this race. Okay. Bryson James, Justin Cady, Colin Weinberger, Gray Ferrando, Jerry Schramm, and Brett. Those guys are directly behind him. He knows his car is fast on the bottom. I can't blame him for not moving out of that line.
Oh, no, I'm not. As a racer, I probably would have held that line. But those guys are coming. We've all talked to
absolutely.
We've talked to Katie. We've talked to Bryson. We've talked to Colin. They all say, you're fast, but when you start hearing them, you know you're not fast enough because this field is so tight in the competitiveness that you have to put in that extra work in this field to go to make it.
Right.
To
it's
pull
that
away.
extra 2,000ths, and that makes a difference in this division. It really does. Dustin Cady, your winner by nearly half a second.
And when he gets out there, he's checking out.
That's the thing with the 7 car. You're right. I was going to say that. When he gets to the front, it's not a side-by-side finish. He's got car lengths.
But he's also doing something that I haven't seen a lot of the guys do. It's like he gets into the front, and, he wants to hit his marks, but he also turns the race into a test session. He starts searching the track a little bit, moving his lines a little bit, seeing how his lap times pick up, how they kind of slow down. The car doesn't really like it there, and he starts doing a mental checklist.
Right. And that's something that Dom and I have talked about in the tower to the fans is watching the 7 car hunt the racetrack to figure out, okay, where does this car work the best? In the last couple of weeks, where has he been?
Up top.
Up top. That's where Dustin Cady specializes in getting his race cars to work. He is so good on the top. We've seen him there for when he's on and he's up top. That is just, he's got so much momentum, and his driving style that fits him. And he's got that car figured out. Okay, we've tried the bottom, we've tried the middle. It's okay. Up top, he found something. And that thing, I don't know, man.
See, and you'll watch guys like Colin, Bryson, Campos
hunt the racetrack.
That's
what the great drivers do.
And they'll see that 7 car go up there, and they're right up there.
And that's exactly what happened.
And you catch him, though?
No.
Well, if you do,
you're not going to pass him.
Yeah, you're in that line, and now you got to start making that middle work. So, to me, to be successful in this division, especially this division, with it being as tight as it is on the rules, and whatever everybody can say, so and so is pushing that. It's still pretty tight in the rules.
No doubt about it.
You're gonna have to search the racetrack.
You have to hunt that track. And you're right. You brought up something that we talked about as a group after the races on Saturday night was when Cady got to the top, or to the point, your leader, and he was up on the top, the first thing you saw was a Superman car and a 13 car go up there. What'd they do? They passed a bunch of cars. They finished. Bryson was 3rd. Weinberger was 5th. But they got to the top and did exactly what you're saying. They saw what that 7 was doing, moved up there, and those 2 guys, well, let's look at lap times. Fastest lap in the field during the race in the feature we're talking about was Bryson James with a 17.039. That's under race conditions in the feature. 17.039. Second fast lap was the 7 of Dustin Cady. 17.230. Weinberger, who finished 5th, was 17.573, which puts him at... there's several guys faster than the best lap. Talking about their best lap during the feature.
And that doesn't surprise me with Bryson, because if you're in front of Bryson, the competitive nature in him is, I'm going to run you down.
Yeah. But listen to this. So 17.230 was the best lap for your winner, Dustin Cady. You go all the way down to the last 17-second car. 13th, Sandy Sanders was a 17.967. So you're talking about 6 tenths of a second between 1st and 13th in best lap times. Now, 15 of the 16 cars finished on the lead lap. Lauren Cruzy was 18.873 seconds behind the leader. So he was coming up. I mean, they were looking at him at the tail end. But to stay on the lead lap, that 15 of the 16 cars tells you just how tight this field is.
And who do they all have to thank for having that track that competitive for him to do that?
Bill Arnold has given these guys a track surface this year that it's funny. We talked about last year, and again, last year there was so many things against
weather.
You got a guy prepping the track. That's the learning curve of prepping the track with Chris stepping down, and there's a lot of stuff that last year was just one of those deals.
It wasn't working to the track favor.
It wasn't, or the race car's favor. There we saw a lot of broken stuff. Mm-hmm. This year we haven't seen that. We've seen glass tabletop racetracks that have been very, very fast, top to bottom, really super smooth. The one thing I will say last week, the one thing that disappointed me for the feature of the late models, which we're going to talk about, of all things, was the racetrack. It just didn't widen out like a lot of guys thought it would. We talked to some guys and I said, oh, yeah, it should widen out. There should be something up. There was nothing up top. I mean, if you weren't in the bottom half of the racetrack, you were going backwards. But
the race before...
Right. It's just, I get what you're saying. So talking about the late models, 17 of them, 17 late models this week. This last week. Corey Brooks in the 69 was 17th. Ryan Embry made his debut, finished 16th in the 97. Something happened. I don't know. You guys hear he broke after the first lap. Do you remember what happened?
The motor.
Was
oil
it
pressure?
Yeah. Oil, okay. So he shut it down.
Yeah.
Smart move. Okay. Sonny Modoff in the 8 car was 15th. Randy Boyd, 94 car, was 14th. Tanner Wines making his first start in a long, long time. Coming out, drove Brett James' 26 car, finished 13th. Final car in the lead lap in 12th. Colin Weinberger. This is the night. This was the one. This whole race. From the drop of the green flag until lap 38, I will say this race was the most boring race I've watched all year. And this is why. And this goes back to having such a great surface. It really limited where the guys were working their cars. Again, that bottom half of the racetrack, that low line was the fast line. Everybody was there. Okay.
And I think a lot of guys had their cars set up because they thought there was going to be a top.
It could have been. But it ended up being a follow the leader type deal for 38 laps.
I don't think that they were as set up to pass as well on the bottom as they could have. Does that make sense? So
Absolutely.
They had only a lane and a half to work with. If they'd have known that there wouldn't have been a top, I think you would have had a little more racing, is what I'm saying.
So Weinberger, and we're going to come back. We're going to rewind this a little bit. Weinberger was 12th. Just ahead of him was the 35B of Jared Bemitz. Bruce Hipple in the U2 shows up and finished 10th.
You mean the 40-year-old looking...
Bruce Hipple, guys, is 75 years old.
And looks like he's 40.
75 years old racing late models. Is this cool or what?
Yeah.
Talking with... Now, I know you guys didn't maybe watch it the next day. The Pit Cruise. Okay, the Pit Cruise, which this week was brought to you by Canon RV.
See, if I'm not in it, I don't watch it.
Right. Canon Mobile RV Repair was the sponsor of that Pit Cruise. We spent a little time talking with Bruce Hipple during the Pit Cruise. Can you guys tell me how many years he's raced at Willamette Speedway?
Oh, I know he said it because it was in your little chat. I did pay attention.
Well, Glenn Hackney said he does 52 years, so.
Bruce Hipple's got 45 years behind the wheel at Willamette Speedway.
That's a lot of years, no
matter
what. It was
45 or 46, I couldn't remember.
I'm 44. It's unbelievable to see these guys, and this, I'm going to say seasoned, guys like Hipple and Hackney get out there and run with these kids that are so good. Hipple held his own. A top 10 against this field of cars is nothing to be disappointed about.
Exactly.
It truly isn't. So going into the 9th place car was a 9 of Rob Campos. Todd Sieg in the 51 was 8th. Darren Koffel was 7th in the 46. Wild Brian Norton took home 6th place in the number 71. Tomas Hunsker, another top 5, the number 38 car.
Wheeling it.
Dan Dybel in the 74 was fourth. Casey Vitale, his teammate, was third in the 3V. Second spot, we're going to talk about some things here. Second spot was the 111 of Joey Tanner. The winner for the second time this year, the 4E of Trent Elliott. Tell me, when you left Willamette Speedway Saturday night,
I was trying to leave.
I just want a yes or no answer. Were you confused?
Yep.
Yes. What's the rule? For
This
the
is-
late models, what is the rule?
That's a great question. That is a great question. This is a great question. We've talked about this a couple of years ago. The situation came up, and we talked about it on the show. I need to get together with Jeremy. One of us, somebody, we need to maybe get Jeremy on the show. We need to get clarification of how this deal works. Because what we saw in the last couple of laps was complete chaos and confusion. Colin Weinbarger had led nearly every lap. He was fast. He was up front, got up on a Uke tire, spun around. There was so much confusion. I'm trying to catch up with what's going on. So
well,
here,
for one, they were doubled up right behind him when it happened. So, good job of driving, not even taking out, I don't know, 8 cars.
Right.
That in its own right, I was
that
like,
could have been a mess for the entire field. As close as everybody was when that deal happened, that could have taken out half the field.
Yeah. So
The
good
best
job
thing
there.
Colin Weinbarger did was stay in the throttle when that happened.
Yeah.
So it got him off the racing surface. So here's the way I process this as an announcer watching this race, under the way I understand the rule. And this might be totally wrong, but this is the way that I've always understood this rule. Okay? Let me explain what I saw from the tower.
What's the rule, though?
That's what I'm trying to get at. I don't know what the rule is, because what I saw and what the call was in my mind was kind of like, I don't understand what's happening here. I don't think anybody else did, given the verbiage of how this thing is stated. Okay, so let's say Weinbarger's spins in turn 4. Okay, Jeremy.
That's not a completed lap, though.
No, hold on. This is the issue. Okay, he spins in turn 4. Jeremy's watching to make sure everything is safe down there. Elliott, Tanner, and most everybody else go by, complete that lap. They go out of turn 2 on the backstretch, and that's when the caution came out. Now, in my mind, the way that I understand the rule, that is a completed lap. That lap is completed. The leaders and most everybody else went by.
Mm-hmm.
The caution came out when they were out of turn 2. So here's the way I interpret the rule. You would go back to that lap that they just crossed the stripe on and determine who's running where. The way I understand it, they went back and rewound it another lap to determine who was lining up where. And in that case, they say the 4E got to the line before the 111. It was so close, they had to refer to the transponder system. I couldn't tell on that particular lap, so I was talking about it. But this is what everybody's confused about. The verbiage of this rule says last completed lap before the caution. Okay, the caution came out after that lap was completed, and they were coming out of turn 2. So you would go back to the last time they crossed the line. My understanding, that just the way that I've read that rule and the way that I've always understood it is that's what you would do. In this situation, it came back across the line and went back again. We need to get clarification on this, because there's a lot of people confused on this deal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not just talking about fans and track officials. I'm also talking about drivers.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah, there was a lot going on in the stands because I had walked up there.
there was a lot of people that were upset because you've got fans, and I'm not taking anybody's side on this deal. I'm just trying to figure out the verbiage of the rule, how it's stated, and how that decision was made. Because what I saw was after the caution came out and the cars were coming out of turn 2 on the backstretch, when the caution came out, at the stripe, the 111 was the leader. The 4E was second. So what I don't understand is how they went back to that stripe and then back another full lap